Welcome back to Midday Live on TV3. Let's do some business stories now. A finance expert, Ken Thompson, has debunked that the Bank of Ghana's assertion that the policy rate hike from 19 to 21% is a correctional measure. He argues that a tighter monetary policy is likely to introduce further hardship on businesses.
What we are doing is more of a correction. We are moving the rate up to 21%, but the 24% at which we lend to banks, which also influence how they deal with their customers, is still the same.
The Central Bank Governor, Dr. Henry Wampa, says the 200 basis point increase was a correctional measure. This, according to the bank, is to reduce the 500 basis points gap at the time the policy rate was pegged at 19%. He mentioned this was not done to affect the lending rate of the commercial banks, since the rate the BOG will lend to the banks will remain unchanged at 24%. But finance expert and CEO of Delex Finance, Ken Thompson, disagrees.
The central governor has increased interest rates by 200 basis points, and he tells us that although he's increased it, the rates will stay the same for business. I mean, that's not true. The banks are lending at, say, maybe 35%. Let's say all in 35%. But they are giving, do you know how much they give on savings? 5%. If you take an MBFI is borrowing on the open market at maybe 32%. And they're lending at an APR of maybe 70%. And that's only twice. So it's not that straightforward.
An economic analyst with Data Bank, Corrade Kingsley Marty, said a tighter monetary policy is likely to introduce further hardships on businesses.
For as long as inflationary expectations remain high, which the Bank of Ghana has alluded to, and for as long as utility bills continue to rise, then we expect that these factors will also determine lending rates, and then we should see lending rates going up. So beyond the policy rates not having any significant effect on lending rate, we should also be looking at the other factors that affect the lending rate, such as inflation or inflationary expectation, as well as other cost or operating expenses that the lending institutions face.
The ongoing power outage is likely to continue despite the coming on board of the Atuabo gas processing plant. Although a total amount of gas supply from both Atuabo and Nigeria will come up to 240 million standard cubic feet, there still will be a deficit of 200 million standard cubic feet. Here's a report by Sandra Amakwe.
Ghana's power sector has suffered setbacks since 2012. The situation seems to have worsened since the beginning of 2014 due to the erratic supply of gas from Nigeria and ongoing maintenance works on some thermal plants. Per Ghana's contract with Nigeria on gas supply, Nigeria is expected to supply Ghana with 120 million standard cubic feet of gas daily. It is expected that the operations of the Atuabo gas processing plant would reduce the ongoing load shedding exercise. The $1 billion project is expected to supply gas to the Volta River Authority's thermal plant at Aboazi with about 120 million standard cubic feet of gas daily. This would save VRA an amount of $500 million annually. Currently, out of the total of 2,800 megawatts of power installed, power supply as of November 12 was at 1,550 megawatts, while demand for power is at 1,870, a shortfall of 320 megawatts. It is estimated that the country would need about 450 million standard cubic feet of gas daily to power its thermal plants. The total amount of gas supply from both Atuabo and Nigeria will be 240 million standard cubic feet. This means the country would still be in need of about 200 million standard cubic feet of gas to power its thermal plants. Already, inflows into both the Akontombo and Bui hydro dams have been low this year. It is estimated that with the low inflows recorded in the dams, power supply from both the Akonsombo and Bui dams would have to be further reduced to prevent a total collapse of the dam. This means even when the Atuabo gas processing plant is fully operational, Ghanaians would continue to endure power outages until more thermal plants are installed and fuel made available.
From one utility to the other, and only 2 out of 8 filters at the Bong Water Supply Expansion Project have been completed. Engineers are, however, confident that at least 4 will be operational before the December 2014 deadline.
The expansion project is one of the interventions to improve on water distribution in the Accra metropolitan area. The project, expected to be commissioned at the end of the year, will produce a maximum of 80 million gallons daily. Construction is 99% complete. Only 2 other filters have been completed. 8 filters will be fixed when completed.
The filters, we use sand as a filter media, and they win the sand from the Volta River. And it's a seasonal production in the sense that when it rains, they are not able to win the sand. And even when the little that they win, when they come up, they are not able to dry it in order to sieve it and grade it properly in accordance with the specifications that are required. And you know, this year in particular, the rains, we've just had rains almost throughout.
Despite the challenge, engineers are confident Adenta, Madina, Tema and its immediate environs will be provided with at least 40 million gallons of water daily.
That's it for business. Thank you very much for watching.